So anytime now, the hearing begins in a court in Dominica. There are 8 members of an Indian team that are already there. Members from the Central Bureau of Investigation and the Ministry of External Affairs and agencies. Now, India today has accessed details of the team that is there and the team that is attempting to get Mehul Choksi back to India to face justice in the 13,500 crore rupee Punjab National Bank scam. The team is headed by a CBI officer, Sharda Raut. She is the investigative officer in this PNB fraud case. The team comprises 8 members. Now, Munish Pandey gets us more.
Endgame Mehul Choksi. An 8-member Indian team in Antigua to bring the fugitive back to Delhi if the Dominican court orders his extradition, that is. The team headed by CBI officer Sharda Raut, the leading officer in the 13,000 crore PNB scam in which Choksi is the key accused. India today has learnt that if Mehul Choksi, the scamster, is deported, then he will be brought to Delhi in this private jet by a team of officials, and Raut will formally arrest him as soon as he sets foot in Delhi. The Indian officials held several meetings with the Dominican authorities to ensure that India has a strong case. To mount the heat, the Central Financial Probe Agency is in touch with the Indian team in Dominica, and concrete evidence against Mehul Choksi has been shared with them. After a 3-year wait, could this be the beginnings of D-Day for Mehul Choksi, when India will get the fugitive back? With Munish Pandey in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
And D R Karthikeyan, former director CBI, and Ambassador Rajeev Dogra continue to stay with me. Ambassador Dogra, in your view, how difficult will it be for India to bring him back at a time when his lawyers claim that he was illegally removed from Antigua, illegally brought into Dominica, as against the case in Dominica of illegal entry to that country, perhaps to escape to Cuba subsequently?
Well, that's a good question, Gaurav, and I think we have to analyze it in a very rational, cool-minded way. The first thing is that, if my understanding is correct, the court which is hearing the case today has jurisdiction over 6 Caribbean countries. Besides Dominica, it also includes Antigua. So this court has civil and criminal jurisdiction to hear cases of 6 Caribbean countries, as I said, including Antigua. The second thing to understand is, has Indian team engaged a lawyer who has indeed filed a case in this court that Choksi be extradited to India? If it has not filed any such case, I don't know how the court will make a judgment in the matter. The case which has been filed, according to you and your colleagues, is one about how Choksi landed up in Dominica and whether it was an abduction, kidnapping, or whatever, and whether there were any signs of torture and so on. Okay. So the case is about Choksi landing up in Dominica, and the judgment would have to be delivered on that particular issue, unless India has filed a separate case, which all evidence suggests so far that that case has not been filed, only documents have been filed.
Documents have been filed. Okay, as you're saying, it remains to be seen what happens next. What happens, Mr. Karthikeyan, once an Interpol Red Corner notice is given to a government? Now, will Dominica be honor-bound to send Mehul Choksi to India because there is an Interpol Red Corner notice against him? Or can they, on the basis of an Interpol Yellow notice, send him back to Antigua?
No, it is understanding among all the nations to respect the red corner notice issued by the Interpol. Otherwise, you can't control the crime. Fugitives will commit crime in one country and go and disappear somewhere else with their spending lavish lifestyle with the looted money. and there will be a lot of chaos in the whole world. The understanding is they will respect red corner notice issued by India against the Indian national for becoming a fugitive. And then that's why he has been running around. I expect any decent government in any country to respect the red corner notice and send him back to the country on whose behalf Interpol issued the red corner notice. And now the team is led by a very senior officer. Sharda Raut is a very capable investigating officer and of sufficient seniority, and he is thorough with the facts of the case. And the law is also very clear. I don't think this type of petty allegations can save them. And it's a question of prestige for India also, because otherwise what will happen? Every criminal will loot the money and go somewhere, and we can't be helpless. It's the sovereign right of India to get him back.
That's a very important point.
Every decent country.
That's a very important point you're making there. That's India's sovereign right. This man stands accused of serious financial fraud in India. It's the taxpayers' money. It's your money and my money that he's run away with and built a huge a villa and a life in Antigua. So many are asking why this sudden interest in Mehul Choksi? Who is Mehul Choksi? And why is it that he's wanted in India? Remember Geetanjali jewelers and jewelry and a lot of those ads that were coming some years ago? What was his journey like between 2010 and 2018 when he finally fled India? We bring you this report.
Once one of India's biggest diamond traders, Mehul Choksi is today on the list of most wanted criminals and a focus of a multi-agency manhunt. Mehul Choksi's fall from grace was sudden. He is accused of defrauding the Punjab National Bank of 13,600 crore rupees, along with his nephew Nirav Modi, another diamond trader. The two allegedly diverted thousands of crores using forged PNB letters of undertaking through 15 dummy companies based in the UAE and Hong Kong. Days before the scam was unearthed, Choksi and Modi fled India. While Choksi went to United States of America, Modi fled to England. Choksi then moved to Antigua and Barbuda to avoid extradition and took that country's citizenship in 2018. On 23rd May this year, he was seen leaving his residence with a female friend. Choksi's lawyers claim the woman was part of the team involved in the alleged abduction and torture of Choksi.
एक महिला थी जो उनके पड़ोस में आके रहती थी और फिर उन्होंने शिफ्ट कर लिया था, तो उनकी फैमिली में भी आना जाना था। इवनिंग में वॉक पे मिल जाते थे दोनों आपस में। तो जो है इन्होंने, वो लेडी पहले शिफ्ट हुई थी और जो पूरा पता चल रहा है कि वो भी इस ऑपरेशन का हिस्सा थी। तो ये इनको ट्रैप करने के लिए वो लेडी को सीड किया गया था।
Amidst these twists and turns, India today has accessed a fresh set of Choksi's pictures from Dominican hospital where he was admitted. Choksi has many injury marks on his body, which his lawyers claim are due to torture and electric shocks given to him.
अगर आप फोटोग्राफ देखेंगे तो वो क्लियर इलेक्ट्रिकल शॉक्स की हैं और मेरा क्रिमिनल लॉ का इतना एक्सपीरियंस है, अगर कभी भी कोई सेल्फ इन्फ्लिक्टेड इंजरी होगी तो वो कभी भी केस पे नहीं होएगी। आदमी अपनी आंख नहीं फोड़ लेगा खुद से। जब उनको उठाया गया फोर्सिबली या एंटीगा से और यॉच पे रखा गया और फिर पुलिस स्टेशन ले जाया गया, तो ये उस बीच के दौरान की ये सारी की सारी इंजरीज हैं।
The Choksi mystery, which has all the makings of a spy thriller, is yet to reach a climax. There are many questions that don't have any clear answers. Did Choksi go to Dominica on his own, or was he abducted? If he was abducted, who was behind the mission? And when will Choksi be extradited to India to face the law for his crimes? Bureau Report, India Today.
Ambassador Dogra, Antigua's Prime Minister, Gaston Brown, he says this man, Mehul Choksi, left that country to have a good time with a woman left on a yacht. And he said if he has gone to a Dominica on his own, that's a fatal mistake, according to Antigua's Prime Minister. Antigua's police commissioner has gone on record to say there was no abduction. And yet we see a man with bruises and injury marks in Dominica. But as the opposition in Antigua asks, that there is no arrest of any other individual, no woman, no handlers, no abductors. So is this a carefully constructed narrative that the lawyers are building for sympathy? But then again, there are those injury marks. Okay, let me take a moment. Ambassador Dogra, can you hear me? I will take a moment and re-establish that link with Ambassador Rajeev Dogra, but India Today has also accessed a scathing letter that has been written by Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown. I'll tell you more about that letter in just a moment, but we want to cut across to Dominica. We are about to get live images of the proceedings outside the court. We'll take a moment and get those links, but this letter, this scathing letter written by Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown to fugitive Mehul Choksi. This was on the 14th of August 2019, where Antigua's Prime Minister in the letter has said that Choksi's citizenship should be revoked on grounds of willful concealment and false representation of facts. In the latest statement, Gaston Brown has said that he stands by his request for Dominica to extradite Choksi directly to India, where he still remains a citizen. He then goes on to accuse Choksi of hiring a lawyer from the opposition party in lieu of campaign funding. He also said that Choksi's deportation cannot be negated by his alleged abduction to Dominica. Very, very strong statement coming in from Antigua's Prime Minister Gaston Brown, and these are the first images that we were trying to get you from the court. But this, of course, is a file image, and there you see two men, both fugitives from law in India, Vijay Mallya on one side and Mehul Choksi on the other. Remember, Nirav Modi III is also in the United Kingdom along with Vijay Mallya, but these are images of the Eastern Caribbean High Court of Justice. Those are images that you see on your television screen. That is where the trial is taking place. High Court of Justice in Dominica. And Ambassador Dogra, the lawyer is making a very emphatic plea that he was abducted. The Prime Minister of Antigua says there was no abduction. The Prime Minister of Antigua also says that when Mehul Choksi took citizenship of that country, he concealed facts, and he makes an emphatic case that he should be extradited to India. Does that help India's case in a court of law?
Well, you asked a lot of questions, but let me first start by clarifying from Interpol's own website what this red alert that we've talked about so often is really conveys. Does it mean that the moment Interpol issues a red alert, the person should be arrested wherever he is? Interpol says very clearly, no. It is just a lookout notice, and the procedure of law has to be followed. It is not an arrest warrant. So I think we are being misguided when we say that just on the basis of that red alert, he will be arrested and flown back to India.
No, sir, nobody is saying that. No, Ambassador Dogra, nobody is saying that on the basis of Interpol Red Corner notice, he'll be arrested and sent back. That Interpol Red Corner notice will be given in a court of law. That due legal process will still take place. But does an Interpol Red Corner notice override a yellow notice that is there from Antigua, was my question.
No, it does not, because then the court of law will decide what, according to it, is the sense of justice. So there it depends on which case or cases have been filed in that court. At the moment, as your colleagues have pointed out, the only case which is with the court at present is that about the circumstances in which he was brought in there. And the second part is to establish his identity. that identity document, the passport, which he has presently,
Okay.
is left in Antigua, which, according to all evidence, seems to claim that he is an Antiguan national. He's
And
no
yet,
longer
you have the Prime Minister of Antigua who says that this man concealed information to get that citizenship. So does that impact the case, Mr. Karthikeyan? He hid facts when he took citizenship of Antigua. That's point one. Point two, he's wanted for serious fraud in India. So how he landed in Dominica is still not clear. His lawyer claims he was abducted. There is no evidence to suggest as of now that he has been abducted. It's a claim which is not borne out by facts on ground, Mr. Karthikeyan.
To me, all these looks like side shows. See, red corner notice is not issued at the request of any government, just like that. You have to convince the Interpol that so-and-so has committed fraud. There is a lot of procedure. To issue red corner notice is not just CBI writes to them. No. See, after being satisfied, these people are wanted, they have committed something. Red corner notice is issued, one. Number two, here, there is no question of his being, India has asked for him. India sent a team of CBI officers, diplomats and all that, lawyers. They will argue that we have got a right over him. The sovereignty, every sovereign government has a right to prosecute people who have committed crime and go escape somewhere. Otherwise, there is no order in the international law. It's not possible, whatever may be the technicalities. I am sure ultimately it's a question of prestige also for India.
It's a very important case for India, and it will play a big role. Yes. Yes, so if Antigua, if his lawyer is present an Antiguan passport, you also have lawyers from the Indian side who will produce his Indian passport, his Aadhaar card, his bank details, his other documents in this country. And then let's see what the court in Dominica says. And we'll be tracking that story very, very closely. Ambassador Rajeev Dogra and Mr. Karthikeyan, as always, it's a privilege to have you on the broadcast with us. A quick break, back with the headlines and our top stories. This remains one of our key focus areas. Much more on this on India First at 10. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.